Tastes like schnapps and grenadine, like sex on the beach. We go back, we got history. Sex on the beach. Pour me a double shot of Tito's in my glass. Sex on the beach. Let's put our toes in the sand. I sip in a kiss in. Sex on the beach. Just you and me.
Hey everybody, it's Daphne, your favorite person in the whole wide world. We are sitting down with Brian Herskowitz. How you doing?
So far, so good. Still early, but so far, so good.
Oh yeah, LA time. You're 3 hours behind me. I can read your future.
That's
All
right.
right, so we are going to talk today. We are going to welcome him back first off because last time he was on the director's corner, but this time we are promoting his new book, which looks pretty damn good.
Thank you.
Tell us about the book, Brian.
Okay, I just happen to have a copy with me. It's called Conceptus. There we go. A little get off the shine there. And it is a murder mystery about a young woman who, when she's very young, is assaulted, left in a coma, and then 24 years later, she's a homicide detective in Columbus, Ohio, on the trail of a serial killer whose MO is almost identical to the attack that almost took her life 24 years earlier. And it's kind of a nifty little suspense thriller.
So is this based on a true story?
It's based on a kind of an amalgamation of things that were happening in the news at the time that I wrote the story. So although it's not a true story, it's taken from the headlines. So it's one of those ripped from the headlines type story. But it's I think it's an interesting piece. I'm working on a sequel right now to it. So I hope to keep the character around for a while, and got a second novel in the works.
So what made you decide that you wanted to write this book?
Well, actually, I was approached for someone by someone from Warner Brothers because I primarily am a screenwriter. That's been my career. I was approached by someone who was a producer there, who had an idea, and I took it and ran with it. The so initially it started off as a screenplay, and what happened was the deal that I made with the producer was, if you don't take this project, it's my copyright. I've written it. I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to run with it. And that was the deal we made. So I was inspired. He had the germ of an idea, and that was the inspiration. From there, I kind of went wild with it and integrated a whole bunch of different stories and plots and characters.
So you were just like, we're gonna do it.
Yeah. Yeah, he was not a producer with Warner Brothers. He was a producer and he worked at Warner Brothers. So under those conditions, he could only take it to Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers wasn't interested, passed on it. So it reverted back to me, and now I took it. And when COVID hit, I was sitting around twiddling my thumbs, going, "Okay, nobody's making any movies right now. What am I going to do with my life?" And I thought about, do I have another screenplay I want to write, or and then it dawned on me I had not written a novel before. I've always I come from a long line of writers on prior to me and after me. My daughter's a writer, my father's a writer, and I really was thinking, I might want to try my hand at a novel. And it dawned on me that a screenplay in a lot of ways could be a great outline because you have the story plotted out. So that's basically what I did is I took that story and then I was able to dive deeper into the characters, deeper into the structure, started to look a little bit more, this character here that's just really no has a line. What's their life about? What do they want in the world? What are they doing here? So I started to investigate that. I had a great time writing it, really enjoyed the process. So I think I'm going to do it again. I've actually got two different novels that I'm working on, the sequel to this one, and then I have another screenplay that I'm adapting into a novel. So I'm working. Normally, you go, you do a novel and that becomes a movie. Once in a while, you do a movie and that becomes a novel. So
Yeah, things are backwards anymore. And with COVID, I agree. Nobody knew what was gonna happen with COVID.
Right.
Nobody, I mean, nobody knew if anybody was going to get to work again. I mean, we had projects that we were working on that, were funded. And then well, they were in the paperwork, but
Mhm.
then all of a sudden COVID hits and everybody got scared and then
Sure.
everybody walks away because they don't, you never know. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. And I'm glad we all got to go back to work as fast as we did, even though
Yeah.
it was 2 years, but still, and I'm sorry, Warner Brothers, but it's now your loss because I think we should move forward with this.
Yeah, I hope to. I hope to. I think it's going to be, a fun series of novels, and I think it'll be an exceptional screenplay. I think that it's a really powerful story for a very strong female lead, and I can't wait to get into the casting process. So that's my wish and my hope for this. But
So do
it's
you
been a great
have,
experience.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just said it's been a great experience so far.
You do you have any training in, like, forensics or
No, not directly, but I'm a huge proponent of research, and my feeling is, I think every writer, somebody said, write what you know,
Mhm.
and of course that's a great piece of advice, but what you don't know, go find out. Learn about it,
Yeah.
study. So I study. I did research. I talked to police officers. I talked to attorneys. I read every book I could read on the subject. So I try my best to take something, and the one thing about film, television, and novels, they are escapism. They are entertainment,
Right.
and because of that, they can't be real life. That's for documentaries, that's for nonfiction books. But when you're talking about an entertainment and trying to keep an audience engaged or a reader engaged, you can't necessarily just do real life. But my feeling is the more you understand what the truth of a situation is, what the motivation of characters are, why people are acting the way they are, why they behave the way they do, and what the facts are in terms of how are things handled, the better the audience then kind of relaxes into the story because they don't have to think about, well, wait a minute, is that how that goes? Is that when you go to arrest, they don't, when they Mirandize somebody, how do they do that? Do they have to have all that stuff? When you just know it and you can put that into it, then the audience kind of goes, okay, we're in good hands. We know that we're someplace where the writer knows what they're talking about, so we can just enjoy the story. So I'm a big believer in that, whether it's a story, a courtroom drama, a crime drama, or Avatar. And when you start getting into fantasy and you start getting into sci-fi, the rules are limitless. But we as an audience and we as a reader, we want to feel that authenticity, even though there isn't anything to be authentic about. There are no 9 foot tall blue people in my yard. I don't know about your yard, but we don't have a lot of that Avatar stuff here. So, that's all invented, but it has to be grounded in a reality, which is about world building, which is about, and that goes back to how much does the author research and understand what it is they're trying to portray on the screen in the book, etc.
Yeah. I went to school for criminal justice.
Oh, did you?
I don't know if I ever told you that. Yeah, I took 2 years of medical school, for medical administrative assisting or whatever that is.
Mhm.
And I went through that and then I figured out I can't watch people throw up. I don't even like hearing it. So then I took those credits that I had got that were basically, and I switched into the bachelor's program for crime scene investigation and forensic
Mhm.
psychology, profiling, same thing. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I loved it. Like I love school anyway. I'm a weirdo. I'm not even gonna lie. I like to learn, and I am really funny about that with my kids. Like
Yeah.
school, I told them I was like, I will hold your hand and go into the classroom and sit with you before you ever quit school. But when I was going, it was we were writing papers. I mean, 22 to 28-page papers every because I was doing it online. Um,
Mhm.
and it was every, I'd say, 2 days, and
Wow.
yeah, and I did a lot on, what I really wanted to do. I didn't wanna become like a street cop. I wanted
Mhm.
to profile serial killers and basically pedophiles, you know what I
Right.
mean? And
Yeah.
go after those people because I have like serious issues with those people like that, you know. And the stuff you learn is crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
crazy. Loved it. I loved the whole program, the whole forensics. Like I even went and took the police exam and passed it. And
Wow.
I was gonna go back for the agility and all that, but my daughter got sick and they couldn't
Mhm.
figure out for a long time what was wrong with her. And I was like, there's no way in hell I could be gone because you do have to train in the same police academies, you know.
Right.
So it would have been 36 weeks. It would have been 18 out on the street and 18 in, you know, the boot camp.
Mhm.
And I'm like,
Mhm.
there's no way in hell I could be gone that long. So I kind of
Right.
put that aside. And it sucks when you pay all that money to get a school and you don't ever get to use it. But now it's kind of cool though, because I might have not, you know, got to use it for that purpose.
Mhm.
It's coming in handy in this business.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
for sure.
it's
My grandmother, was a scientist in the crime lab in
mhm,
Houston, Texas, back when women generally were not scientists in crime labs, but she was one of the first women, crime lab people in the state of Texas many years ago.
wow.
But yeah, so that's my closest connection to the police side of things. But it's always been something that fascinates me, and particularly procedure and how do they do it? What is the process? What do they do when they're confronted with a situation that seems like there is no information? What do they do? How do they move through time and space? And that's, this is not necessarily procedural, but it has some elements of that.
Yeah. So would you ever, I mean, what's the coolest book that you did read so far as far as
Mm.
I mean, I know we're promoting Conceptus, but to learn a little bit more
Oh,
for what
what in terms of what books?
like
There
internet
are,
profiling.
yeah, I mean, first of all, now with the internet, it's almost impossible not to be able to find information on basically anything you want to learn about.
Yeah.
It's at your fingertips. Prior to that, there are books. There's actually a whole series of books on crimes and criminology for specifically for writers.
Mm.
I have a stack of them. I can't remember what the names of the writers are at the moment, but I could run around the corner here and get them for you.
Oh no,
But there are, huh?
you're fine. I was just wondering if you knew one right off the top of your head, but
Not
one
the top of my head, but I have a literally a whole library of like books on how done it is one that I
mm,
have. Um, you know, crimes. I have one on murder, one on theft, one on poisons, one on So basically, it breaks it down and police procedurals, information on that. And of course, one of the things that you have to understand is that it's different depending on where you are, what jurisdiction you're in.
yeah.
May have different call letters, different way of speaking. So you just have to be aware of that. But and my story is set in Columbus, Ohio. I'm not from Columbus, Ohio. I've never, I've been to Ohio. I can't remember if I've ever been to Columbus, but
You're not
it's not an area that I'm particularly familiar with. So I did a lot of research about Columbus. That was something that the internet was extremely helpful on. I could look at a map and I could Google and I could say things like, well, okay, what's the best neighborhood? If I want somebody who's really wealthy, where would they live? I want somebody who's not, who's living in a rundown area. What would that be? What's the most what areas are the highest crime rate? What areas have the lowest crime rate? Those are questions that I would want to ask,
mm,
and those are questions that I could find on the internet. Now, how accurate it is depends on how accurate the people that are putting up that information is. So you have to take it with a grain of salt, and you have to kind of verify the information that you have. But also, I don't suspect people are going to go, oh no, wait a minute. If he takes a left on Fifth Street, he's not going to end up at this place. He's going to. So I don't think people will get that granular, but they might. And hopefully, I'll be able to say, well, I looked on a map, and it sure seemed that way. But we'll see.
There's a book that I think that you, I mean, not as far as this, but later on, check it out. It's called Hidden Evidence, I believe. I have it. I'll text it to you.
Yeah,
That would be a good background as far as
yeah.
forensic.
I may have it actually. Like I said, I have a pretty large
It's
you
got
know,
a lot of
library of,
like
yeah.
Jack the Ripper. It actually has
Mhm.
heat photographs. It's just crazy, but
Yeah.
it is helpful to do your research before you're writing the books,
Yeah.
most definitely.
Yeah. Good idea. I think. I think it's a good idea for
So
you.
moving forward,
Yeah.
our screenplay.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
we gonna go down that route, right?
I hope so. I mean, I would love to see this done as a film. I think it would be I think it'd be a very good film. I think it's a terrific part for a star, female star. Uh, we'll see.
Do
Hopefully.
you think film or like maybe a TV series?
You know, I had always thought that it would be a film, but you know, one of the things that's happened not just since COVID, but prior to COVID and now moving forward, is the lines between what is a feature and what is television, and you know what makes sense to do as a movie versus a television series is blurring. And you know, now you see what they call, you know, limited series, where it'll be 3 episodes, where you know it's a 5 or 4 hour movie basically.
Mhm.
And it's what's interesting about that is I think oftentimes in the past, when I started off as a writer in television, when you would write, you know, a series, you were basically reinventing the wheel each week. You kind of had to remind everybody, hey, last week, remember what we were doing? And now because everybody, you know, they stream, they're binge watching, they don't have that same purview in terms of, well, I have to make sure that they remember that this character was this person. And it just flows from one to the next. And a few years ago, I was at a workshop, and I can't remember who was speaking, but they were talking about one of the differences in the industry now. And one of the things they talked about is with the streaming services, with binge watching, that when you take like a 10 episode series, you're really looking at a very long movie, and it's cut up in a way where it's, you know, act one is the first 3 episodes, act two is the 6 middle episodes, and you know, act three is the last 4 episodes. And when you start to look at it like that and say, okay, I've got a story that has this big arc, it makes a lot of sense. So it's very possible, particularly the sequel to the first novel is picks up exactly where you left off. So it's the same characters. It's basically following up on the same story. Um, so you could absolutely do this as a limited series. I wouldn't be too sad if they decided that that was the way they wanted to go. But it
Yeah.
really depends on, you know, you, you only have so much control in this world when you're a writer or an artist or an actor or producer or anything that you do. And you know, you kind of have to go with the tide. And right now the tide is pushing a little more towards television, but I don't know.
I'm gonna tell you as a viewer, just as a
Yeah.
viewer, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I mean, I'm guilty. I do binge watch sometimes, but normally I've watched the episodes. But there have been 3 little mini series that have kind of irritate. Well, no, the one's supposedly shooting again, so that's going to actually be it's going to go on. That's Tulsa King. I love that one. But when they did Harley and the Davidsons,
Uh-huh.
it was only 3. I was so
Uh-huh.
mad. Like, damn it, we could have just kept going.
Yeah.
Or The Offer. Like, I
Mhm.
just binge watched that probably for the 3rd time the other day, and I'm telling you what, oh my they could have continued that one too, you know, because you
Yeah.
had Godfather 2, The Godfather 3, you know, the rest. I was so mad when they cut them. See, that's why I like for things to go. I know they can't go on forever, but damn, you could have gave
Yeah.
them a little bit more than 3 or 4 episodes.
Listen, there's something to be said for the idea of, you know, leave your audience wanting more. The idea that, you
Yeah,
know, wouldn't you rather be going, gosh, I wish there was more than, oh my God, I wish this was over. How long I've wasted, you know, 10 hours of my life watching this series. And, you know, sometimes you get to that place where you're watching something and go, okay, enough. We've got it. Move on. Let's go. Enough, you know.
yeah,
So
there's
there's
a couple.
something good about having that idea, because then they can always come back and say, you know, you asked for it, we brought it, here it is. And I'm sure that's probably part of their thought process as well.
All right, so let us know, where can we buy Conceptus? Even though I know it's
Ah,
on the site, but we'll tell them anyway.
you can buy it at Amazon, Barnes and Noble. It's on the publisher's site, which is booklocker.com. You can probably most online bookstores, it's not physically in the bookstores at the moment.
Mm.
but online, just about anywhere that books are sold. And yeah, you can get it there. Or you can call me, I'll give it to you.
We don't.
I got a couple of copies I can
You
send.
don't ever want to say that on here because people
People
like
will do it.
I
No, they
try
do. That's okay. I
contact.
get lonely. I like to hear from people. I'm okay.
But there's a difference when they're calling and calling and calling, not leaving
Yeah, that's true. All right. Now I take it back. Don't call me.
you. Shoot an email to his
Yeah,
manager.
that you can do. They can also find the book if you go to my website. You can also find out a little bit more about me in general, and that's my name, brianherskowitz.com, and it's Herskowitz, Herskowitz. For those of you who are scared of the longer names, you can
You're
try
picking
that.
on me, aren't you, Brian?
And not at all, not at all, not even in the least.
You hear that, you guys? You guys really need to buy this book. It's a pretty good book, man. I'm telling you. So,
Thank you.
and when it gets turned into a TV show, yet again, Warner Brothers, you
Or
dropped
a
the
movie.
ball on that one. So we're gonna carry that one out and make a show.
Looking forward to it.
All right, we are going to wrap this up. We're definitely gonna thank you for coming on, and
Thank
everybody
you, Daphne.
buy your book.
Have me back again. I love it.
Yeah,
All
definitely.
right.
You're more than welcome to come on anytime you feel like coming on. All
Thank
you
you.
gotta do is shoot me a text. Hey, what are you doing?
I'll do that. I definitely will.
All right, you guys. I'm saying see you later. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Out there somewhere on the beach, you got a cool drink waiting on me. Your lips taste like schnapps and grenadine, like sex on the beach. We go back, we got history. Sex on the beach. Pour me a double shot of Tito's in my glass. Sex on the beach. Let's put our toes in the sand. I sip and a kiss in. Sex on the beach. Just you and me. We never forgot that summer. We were long overdue for a do-over. Your lips still taste like schnapps and grenadine, like sex on the beach. We go back, we got history. Sex on the beach. Pour me a double shot of Tito's in my glass. Sex on the beach. Let's put our toes in the sand. I sip and a kiss in. Too young to ever be lovers. Too young to ever fall in love. Those times seem like forever. A long, long time ago. Put a little umbrella in mine. Don't forget I want a double shot. We'll dance in the moonlight and have a real good time. Pour me a double shot of Tito's in my glass.